Hi everyone. Um, so we've been talking a lot about perspective in class, and can anyone remind me what perspective is using your hands? Yes. Yes, perspective is somebody else's side of the story or their point of view. Um, I'm going to read you a really familiar story. It's a story that I'm sure you guys have all heard, maybe from your parents, or maybe you read it in school, or you saw like a version of the on TV, and I want you to try to think about and notices the differences between the two stories and how the perspective changes that. All right, so the book we're going to be reading today is The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. Yeah, but it's from someone else's perspective. So I'm going to read the first page and we're going to try to guess whose perspective this is from. Everyone knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because no one has ever heard my side of the story. Alright, using our hands, can anyone predict whose side of the story it is? So the original is told by the three little pigs. Whose perspective could this story be told from? Yep, it could be the wolf. One more? Yep, maybe the police. We'll see. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But, like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold and I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built a whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? Do any of you guys have houses built out of straw? Thumbs up if you do, thumbs down if you don't. Yeah, a lot of thumbs down. I don't think anybody has a house built out of straw anymore. So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into somebody else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar from my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt the sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed. Achoo! And I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down, and right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as the big cheeseburger just lying there. I was feeling a little bit better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar, so I went to the next neighbor's house. The neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little bit smarter, but not much. He built his house of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, Go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. So, how do you think that the wolf is trying to change our perspective of this story? Yep. He's making the pig seem mean. Yeah. What else? Yep. He's not as neat in this story, right? He's just trying to make a cake for his grandma. One more. Yep. Oh, he's changing the story a little bit, so all the things aren't the same. Good job. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. Achoo! And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. That means he's telling the truth, or he says he's telling the truth. Now, you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better. And I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and the second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed, and I sneezed again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." That's not very nice. So how is this story a little bit different than the original story? Yep. The wolf doesn't really seem like the bad guy, right? The pigs are really mean. What else? Yep. In the original story, the pigs run away. Yep. Oh, the wolf tries to eat them. He's not there for a cup of sugar, right? So in the original story, he goes to eat them. And in this story, he's just going to get a cup of sugar. All right, let's see. Now, usually I'm a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs they had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down. They made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story is I was framed. See, it says wolf all huff and puff. This is all the newspapers. The picture shows all the newspaper of the big bad wolf. So he's saying that the newspaper gave him his name. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar? So now you guys are going to go do a Venn diagram. And in the first circle, you're going to say the things that happened in the original story. And in the second circle, you're going to say things that only happened in this story, this version of the story, from the wolf's perspective. And in the middle, you're going to say all the things that happened in both stories. So maybe when we were talking about earlier, maybe the characters are the same, or maybe the ending is the same. I don't know. You guys are going to have to use your brains, be real smart, and think about it and compare the two stories. All right, awesome. Everyone go back to your seats.